Hello, friends. Welcome to our PhiloTalk. And for disclaimer, this video that I am making today is intended for those who are passionate in philosophy and for those who are thinking of taking up the degree in philosophy that is Bachelor of Arts, a major in philosophy. And of course, the meat of the matter which is intended to is our students in senior high school who are taking up this course, Introduction to the Philosophy of the Human Person. So today, I'm gonna share with you the quick facts that you must not skip why you need to study philosophy. But before that, let me share with you first the definition of philosophy. But of course, the origin, according to Plato, philosophy begins in wonder. But of course, Plato is talking about not our common understanding of wonder, where we have the kind of feeling of surprise or where things or beautiful things that happened to us unexpectedly. But Plato is actually talking about philosophic wonder, where a person is curious, feeling of perplexed about the things that exist or things that appears into his mind, the reality that appears into his mind. But broadly speaking, philosophy is a science that studies beings that exist in their ultimate causes, reasons, and principles through the aid of human reason alone. Take note, beings that exist, whether it is material beings or immaterial beings, regarding the ultimate reason, causes, and principles behind the existence of those things. For example, when we ask the question, what is the origin of the cosmos? All right. What was the reason behind the existence of the cosmos? Was it created by God? So that's exactly, as a science, we will be dealing into a scientific findings by providing a rational explanation with regards to the ultimate causes, reasons, and underlying principles for the existence of things. So here are the quick facts or important lessons why you need to study philosophy, or why you have to become passionate, or why you have to feel in love in philosophy like me. I'm so in love in philosophy. Okay, first is that I want you to see it, ask the most fundamental questions. Of course, philosophy will ask so many questions, and questions that are very fundamental questions. Some of the fundamental questions that philosophy asks is, for example, does God exist? If God exists, how do we justify the goodness of God in the face of evil? All right. For example, what was the origin of the cosmos? If the origin of the cosmos is dark matter and energy, and then what was the reason for, or the cause, or the ultimate cause for the existence of those dark matter and energy? Is it created by something supernatural being? So those are what philosophy is fond of asking questions, and those questions that are very fundamental questions that we can never put inside a microscope and study it. Rather, we only use our imagination, our mind, our rational thinking to provide a rational explanation about those fundamental questions. Second, learn a little bit of everything. All right, it's true. You will learn a lot in philosophy. As the classical thought would say, philosophy is the umbrella of all the fields or study. Where in philosophy, of course, in my career in philosophy, I do get to learn so many subjects in philosophy. For example, philosophy of the human person, epistemology, metaphysics, philosophy of science, philosophy of language, philosophy of politics or political philosophy, and so many branches in philosophy that you get to learn when you study philosophy. That is why it deals about everything. And in fact, most of all the brilliant people working in the different fields, for example, in the field of mathematics, field of science, field of psychology, medicine, those people are actually working with or becomes a philosophers. There were philosophers. For example, Pythagoras in his famous Pythagorean theorem. Rene Descartes, for example, of philosophers, who is famous in his Cartesian coordinate plane. And we have also the Euclidean 360 in the pre-Socratic philosophers, Euclid, during the time of in the history of the early Greek philosophy. So, meaning we get to learn so many things in philosophy, and almost everything that exists because it studies beings by definition itself. The third is it discusses exciting topics and thought experiments. So this is the funny thing about myself when I studied philosophy. I remember when I was a child, I asked my mom, why, mom, why the sky is blue? And these are questions about my thoughts and why it happens I'm thinking that way. And the same as now, you can make experimentations, reflections about your own thought, why you feel that way, why you think that way. It discusses about such interesting topics. That is why in philosophy, nothing is gonna be wasted. And in philosophy, for example, if you see the society nowadays where people tend to become more judgmental and about what you did, about what you say, about how you act. In philosophy, no, that can never be wasted, because in philosophy, quote unquote, we don't think inside a box and we don't think just one side of the coin. So that is why do we have this famous saying: if you want to look for an ideal person, get married with the person who studied philosophy. And that's modesty aside. Fourth is to develop critical and structured thinking. That is why in the K to 12 program, the senior year student are having this course, Introduction to the Philosophy of Human Person, as a foundation, as a way of developing their critical and structured thinking. In philosophy, we are not just trained to think of anything as an art, but at the same time, we are trained to think as a science. When we say trained to think as a science, we become more critical in a structural way, and that would be a illogical reasoning where where we arrive at a certain conclusion by providing a scientific rational evidence of our claim. And the fifth, of course, is to learn to read and write like a philosopher. That is why it is quite a lot, so much of advantage for those students who want to take up law and have their philosophy as a undergraduate degree. Why? Because in philosophy we got nothing to read, we got nothing to bring. Rather, we don't bring like a stethoscope, we don't bring apparatus inside the classroom. What we exactly bring in philosophy is just our mind, our reason, where we have to or encouraged to read so much books, read a lot of ideas about different people, read about fancy things, fancy ideas, fancy thoughts about the different people. That is why nothing is gonna be wasted in philosophy, and you will learn, of course, to read and write like a philosopher. I remember my professor in research. Of course, because we was one of the best research professor I encountered, Dr. Dennis Madrigal. I always remember and keep in mind his perennial idea saying, you cannot write unless you read. That is why very essential in philosophy. You need to read and read and read so that you can have a lot of things to write and write and write. All right, second to the last is number 6, apply your knowledge to more careers than you expect. Exactly. Because philosophy as an umbrella, you can apply philosophy in a different fields, in a different career. And surprisingly, majority of the people will get hired to a higher office in the job market are those people who have the background in philosophy, because those people who graduated in philosophy or who have the background in philosophy are very passionate in philosophy. These are people who are very goal oriented and of course problem solving oriented. Instead of focusing into the problem, they focus on how to solve into the problem. That is why philosophy is very essential into the field of business, economics, medicine, law, and so on. And the last one is philosophy is a constant modern subject. Why constant? Because philosophy is not just actually an academic degree, but philosophy is a way of life. The more the people think every day, the more the people live every day, philosophy will also evolve. Why? Basic principle. The moment you think, you are already philosophizing because it's wonder. All right. All you need to do is just to structure your thinking, ask more questions. That is why going back to the fundamental questions, I remember one most notable German philosopher, Karl Jasper or Karl Jasper. He said questions are more important than answers because, according to him, answers will turn out into questions then. Why? The quality of the answers you are searching right now depends on the quality of question you are asking. I repeat it, the quality of answer you want to know right now, you want to get right now, depends on the quality of your questions. And to formulate that quality of questions depends on your depth knowledge or passion in how you make a good philosophical question that would get exactly the answer that you want to get. All right. And of course, because this talk is intended for, or this video is intended for the K to 12 program students in senior year, especially my students at the University of San Lasal, in the Lyceum department. Of course, I will be sharing with you because in our topic later on in the next episode, we'll be talking about the philosophy of the human person or introduction to the philosophy of the human person. And tell you honestly, in the among so very broad topic in different philosophy, under the study of philosophy or different subjects in philosophy, the philosophy of the human person, we will be dealing here about the question on what is a human person. And the second is who is a human person. Basically, you will understand what is a human person in the context of who we are. I have my body. Does my body or having a body define me as a human person? Is it enough to justify or is it enough to provide an evidence of having a body to arrive into a conclusion that I am a human person? Of course not. Why? Animals, cows, carabaos, your dog, your pets in your house right now is also have a body, but they are not human person. They are distinct from you. So we will be dealing into that question: what is a human person? What components that made us as a human person? And the second one is the most interesting one question: who is a human person? Here we will be dealing on how the question on how to live a good life. We will be dealing here about what is the meaning and purpose of our life. If there is the meaning and purpose in life, how to get it? What constitute then to get the ultimate purpose and meaning of life? All right, that's it for today. Please stay tuned for the next episode of our Philo Talk, and I will be sharing with you for the next episode about the major branches of philosophy before we get into the matter based on the standard that was provided by the DepEd as an exit, targeting the most essential skills as an exit when you finish your senior years. And that's critical thinking skills, your problem solving skills, and of course your collaborative skills. And I wanted to focus into that. But for now, just to give you the background about philosophy, I'm sharing with you these quick facts about the reason why you need to study philosophy. And of course, the second is the origin and meaning of philosophy. And then of course, branches of philosophy, the history of philosophy, and then we go into the meat of the matter, which is doing philosophy. It is there we will be challenged our own critical thinking on how we deal different situations in life. All right, stay tuned.